Greetings, everyone. There's strange sounds coming from my kitchen. Yeah, so last time we were talking about Dorian Gray, the latest adaptation of the classic Oscar Wilde story, The Picture of Dorian Gray. Yeah, I really I like those types of horror movies because it's the type that doesn't really rely on blood and guts. It's just about somebody being really evil and the horror of their evil. Classier, you know, more subtle horror movies in a way. But I like that stuff, and we just don't seem to see enough of it these days. So that was kind of a refreshing surprise. Ah, okay. I hear we are being summoned to the crypt. Let's go downstairs and see what Sam has picked out for us today. How's it going, Sam? So last time you had Dorian Gray for us. That was, yeah, that one was a really pleasant surprise. I really didn't know what to expect with that one because I hadn't really heard much about it at the time, and just kind of discovered it in the bargain bin that day, and yeah, glad I did. That's one I'll definitely be watching again. Yeah, so what have you got for us today? Ooh, another Blu-ray. Oh, this is a great one. I can't believe this is one that I just saw since getting it on Blu-ray. Another, another great find from the summer blowout sale. Again, for $5. I mean, I can't believe I got such a fantastic edition of a classic movie like this for $5. This is a film that came out sort of at the dawn of the the really big popularity of the slasher genre. I mean, Halloween had come out. I can't remember if I think it actually predates the first Friday the 13th. So there really wasn't that many slasher movies out at the time. But I'm of course talking about the classic Canadian slasher classic. Classic? It's a classic. The original My Bloody Valentine. Oh yeah. This is really good. I really enjoyed this a lot, and I guess I'll save it for the rest of the review. My Bloody Valentine, the original. That's what we're going to talk about today on the Multimedia Chronicles. I have no idea what that voice is supposed to be. Welcome back. My Bloody Valentine. And I'll stress again, the original, not the remake. Don't really know much about the remake other than what was talked about briefly in a featurette about the making of the remake on this. Yeah, I know that I should start off, I guess, by saying that My Bloody Valentine was one of those ones that kind of slipped under the radar for a long time. I mean, it's considered this big classic of the slasher genre, and I just missed it. It's, just one that slipped by me. And in retrospect, I'm kind of glad in a way that it slipped by me for so long because, well, apparently the version that's been floating around for a long time has been pretty heavily edited. It was actually censored considerably before it was even released in theaters, just due to some, goings-on in the world at the time, and a fear that people would be overly sensitive to excessive violence. And as such, it was heavily censored when it was originally released in theaters, and all subsequent video releases had the heavily censored version as well. There was a DVD release that was put out a little while ago that I believe had the recovered, the censored scenes incorporated back in, and I'm very happy to say that this also has the censored scenes incorporated back in. You actually do have the option of watching the original heavily edited censored version that may be special to you because it's the version you grew up with and it's the one you're most familiar with, whatever. Or you can watch the reconstructed unrated version, which has all the censored bits added back in, which is great. And I think you have the option of just watching the censored clips as well. So if you just want to see the stuff that's been missing all these years, you have that option as well, which is pretty cool. As to what was cut out, when I saw what exactly had been cut out, I was quite frankly shocked that it had been censored that heavily when it was originally released. And I guess in a sense, these censored scenes sort of became the stuff of legend. Because it was so heavily cut down, I think a lot of people were wondering for a long time, like, wow, just how bad was it that it had to be chopped down so severely? Specifically, what was cut down was the excessive violence and bloodshed, like basically the death scenes. Like, literally, almost the entire death scenes were cut out because the death scenes were incredibly graphic. And the thing is, the reason that's a big piss-off to fans of the horror genre is... There's the mind killer now. Anyway, is because this movie is kind of notable in the horror world, because this is where they actually started to come up with a lot of these special effects techniques and gore techniques that are commonplace now. It was one of the first major uses of a lot of that stuff. When did this come out originally? 1981, yeah. So this was around the same time that the original, I guess it was a couple of years after the original Friday the 13th. So Friday the 13th, I think, was the one that really kind of pushed the boundaries as far as on-screen gore. And then My Bloody Valentine just kind of continued the tradition and took it to the next level. I mean, they had some just really well done death scenes in there that were incredibly graphic. And one of the things they talk about on there is the fact that with the advent of prosthetics and latex and everything that had been in use for the past, like, it was still fairly new. It had only been in use for a few years. They could actually show things now on screen that they couldn't do before, just because they didn't have the effects technology for it, such as impact, like the actual impact of an axe or a knife or a pickaxe or something impacting with a body. And showing the wound being made. You know, that's something that just had not been done very much before because it was just too damn hard to do. So they went to a lot of trouble to do those death scenes, and they not only made them creative and interesting, but they also made them very graphic and really like took this whole prosthetics and rubber and latex technology to the max and just like went all out with it. So I imagine it was a huge piss-off to the special effects guys when they saw their cut of their all the probably months of work that they had done basically thrown on the cutting room floor because the censor board was a little upset because of some fucking story in the news. Like, come on, leave our bloody horror movies alone. I guess that's kind of a pun there, isn't it? So anyway, at long last, we have the opportunity to finally see My Bloody Valentine the way it was always intended to be seen. Now, this is the version you want to get because it has the most footage reincorporated back into it. There was some discussion on, I think it was on IMDb, people were saying like, well, there's still like a couple of scenes missing, I think, isn't there? And they said, well, yeah, but here's the thing. We're lucky to have this much recovered footage because it was not taken very good care of over the years, so we're lucky to have it at all in any form. So the couple of snippets that are still missing are likely like lost forever. So don't get your hopes up. Now the interesting thing is, I mentioned that these were basically just tossed on the cutting room floor and they were just kind of reincorporated in. It's really obvious when you're watching footage that's cut, that was originally cut, when you're watching the unrated version, because the quality of the film print for the excised footage is nowhere near as pristine as the rest of the movie. So, but it has an interesting effect, and I actually think it works in its favor, because what happens is, all the cut footage was the gory stuff, all the death scenes, So what the effect it ends up happening is like, you'll be going along, it'll be nice, beautiful, pristine, and suddenly it'll get all scratchy and grindhouse-like for the death scenes. And I think that actually works. I think it actually adds to it, because it gives it that grittier texture, that more sort of raw, visceral look to it that just gives it that much more impact, I think, Yeah, so I think it sort of had an unintentional positive effect on the ultimate result now, 20 plus years later. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So my thoughts on the film, I thought it was a blast. I really enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot of things I liked about it, because even though this is fairly early on in the slasher you know, the main sort of stretch of the slasher genre of the 80s, already they were moving away from cliches. I mean, they were already established cliches in that genre. You know, the stupid teenagers don't have sex, blah, 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 blah. First off, all the main characters in this are not teenagers. They're actually young adults, like in their early to mid-20s. They all basically live in a mining town. They work in the mines. These are young adults. Yeah, they kind of party like teenagers just to unwind, but they're not stupid people. They're not stupid characters. These are smart, you know, adult characters. And it's great. And I have a really itchy armpit. And that alone, I think, made a big difference, because suddenly you've got characters that aren't just acting like stupid teenagers, basically, like the typical stupid teenagers of these types of movies. You got characters that are actually somewhat intelligent. They do a few things that kind of leave you scratching your head, like, yeah, let's go have a party down in the mine. Yeah, okay. Now, you can't smoke down there because you might blow us all up from the methane gases. Well, okay, you're going down there to drink and fuck. Presumably you're going to want to have a cigarette either while drinking or after fucking. Just saying, there's a bit of a flaw in this logic here. But that's really the only thing. That's really the only thing that sort of stood out to me as a flaw. Otherwise, it actually all fits together pretty nicely. You got a nice little, you know, murder mystery, revenge story kind of thing with a really good twist ending. And overall, it was just a really fun, satisfying slasher movie that that did, I think, some really innovative things. And I can see why this one was sort of targeted for remake, because the original is very innovative. You know, it's very different from your typical slasher movie. It's not just some undead, malevolent killer. There's actually a story to it, you know, and there's interesting things going on. And if you're a gorehound, you've got to see this for the unrated version, because you're going to love it. I mean, it's classic gore effects that you're going to like. So, yeah, I definitely recommend My Bloody Valentine, the original. I don't know about the remake because I haven't seen it. I'll probably check it out at some point, but the thing I love about this is, I mean, it was a relatively low-budget film, still pretty high budget considering it was a Canadian film. And they obviously spent a lot on the effects, which I'm sure, you know, as I say, I'm sure everyone was choked when they saw the how badly it was cut down with the theatrical release. But anyway, definitely recommend it for fans of the genre. So, nice little selection of extras on here. We have Bloodlust, My Bloody Valentine, and the Rise of the Slasher Film, which basically talks about sort of My Bloody Valentine's place in the history of the slasher film and stuff like that. So that's quite interesting. Bloodlines, an interactive horror film history, again traces back the origins of the genre and gives you a lot of notable things in there. Deleted footage with director, cast, and special effects designer introductions. Now, that doesn't sound like there's a lot there, but I know that the first one there, Bloodlust, My Bloody Valentine, and the Rise of the Slasher Film, is quite a meaty documentary. And it gives you a lot of information about the making of the movie, which is great. Sadly, it doesn't look like we have a commentary on here, but yeah. Anyway, so you got both cuts of the film and a good selection of extras. Not too shabby. So let's take a quick look at the packaging, shall we? My Bloody Valentine Special Edition Blu-ray. Very nice. Again, just a standard DVD Blu-ray keep case. And here's the back there. Yeah, it gets a little I can't really set it down on the thing because it gets misaligned, but yeah, just because it's angled and stuff like that. Anyway, so there you have your list of features and stuff like that. Very cool. Quite a lot of special features on here, actually. It's quite. Sorry, let's just. So let's just crack her open here, and there you go. And that's it. No inserts, no nothing, and best of all, no eco pack. Yeah. Have I mentioned how much I dislike eco packs? Yes. Well, this is not an eco pack. I was quite happy about that. Stuck to my foot. It was this. This was stuck to my foot. Piece of like a little airplane thing of Rosie's. And there you go. So yeah, so this was a very pleasant surprise. I sort of picked this one up on a whim. Again, another one from Walmart's summer blowout sale. I told you I got a lot of stuff during that sale, and we're going to be continuing to refer back to that sale over many, many updates to come. But yeah, so this was one that I just picked up on a whim. I thought, oh, cool, horror movie on Blu-ray. Haven't seen it. It's the original, not the remake. I was aware that there was a remake, so I thought, yeah, I'll check that out. And it was only $5. Yeah, not too bad. Big special edition of this classic slasher film, $5. You know, it's one of the nice things about horror movies is often, unless there's some ultra rare limited numbered edition catering specifically to the horror film enthusiast / collector, a lot of the time you can get some pretty nice horror movies dirt cheap. So, not too shabby. I was pretty happy with that. So yeah, that's one I'll definitely be watching again and again because I think it was just very, very well done and an absolute treat. And I'm glad that I finally saw it. Now maybe I can get around to seeing all the Friday the 13th movies. Oh, did I just hear a collective gasp of disbelief from the audience? Yes, I have hardly seen any of the Friday the 13th movies. Saw bits and pieces of them. And that's it. I think the only one I've actually seen all the way through from beginning to end was Jason Goes to Hell, which was hilarious. I mean, it was a total comedy as far as I was concerned. And then I guess Freddy vs. Jason, but I don't know if we really consider that part of the Friday the 13th series. But yeah, one of these days. I'm kind of waiting for like a definitive Blu-ray collection to come out. I figure I've waited this long, I might as well just keep waiting. Anyway, that's it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara. Delicious. You actually have the option of watching the original censored theatrical cut. That was for you, Lonesome Foghorn. Little present for you. Farts are funny. As soon as one funny thing happens, like a million other funny things just start popping into your head and like making you want to laugh more. Okay. You actually have the option of watching the original heavily censored, cut down theatrical version or the unrated version. But yeah, now I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. Let's talk about the Blu-ray here. Fuck, what am I doing? I'm just like all over the place. I guess we'll just keep going with that. We'll just continue with that and like carry on through there. Okay. It's going to actually require some editing. Fuck. I'm trying to do these quickly.
That was for you, Lonesome Foghorn. Little present for you.
Farts are funny.